Yo, how long are you staying out east?
Like for an announcement? Yeah. What was that?
How long are you staying out east?
Oh, just through Shabbos. Through Sunday.
Uh-huh.
Through Sunday. All right, fine. So we left off today's Daf Samaches. We got a couple lines down. I think 5 lines down we got. We were discussing in terms of Bittul Rishus, right? Remember, everyone has to join in an Eruv. If one does not join, all of a sudden it prohibits everyone from carrying. However, if on Shabbos it's too late to make an Eruv, but he says, you know what? I'm going to nullify, right? I mean, I'm giving up, relinquishing any rights of mine to the Chatzir. Therefore, now instead of being 5 people the Chatzir, 4 did the Eruv and 1 is not. It's basically like 4 people are part of the Chatzir and the other person is taken out of the equation, and then all can go ahead and carry again for the remainder of Shabbos. So that was called, that's a case of Bittul. So Amar Le, Rabba Bar Rav Chanan Lebai. So Samach Chesed Aleph, 5 lines from the top. So it says, Rabba Bar Rav Chanan to Abaye, Mavua Deis Behu Trey Gavre Ravri Karabanan Lo Ilahavi Be Lo Eruv Lo Shituf. He says, I understand. He said to Abaye. So he said to him, so a mavui, right, that has such great people such as yourself and others, right, does not have an eruv or a shituf. But I understand you guys couldn't get it to, couldn't get it together. Actually, where I live, you can't have that complaint because Rebbe Reese, he lives in the same development, so he made an eruv by us, so you can't have the complaint. But he said, how can you live without an eruv or shituf? So my navid, how can you do it? Mar lavorche. He said, what should I do? When it comes to Rabbah, it's not as derech. It's designed for him. He's like he's the gadol hador. He's going to go around and collect everyone's eruv, everyone's portions. That's lavorche. Ana tarina b'girsay. I'm too busy learning. Ino lemishgachu, and the other people, our neighbors, they don't really care. V'aknile pisa b'sela. And however, if I give over, let's say bread, even if I did go ahead and give bread to the basket, if they go ahead and they want my bread every week, which I have to go ahead and give it, so they can take my bread. They have a right to my bread because I'm giving the bread. And if they want it, they're going to take it. But I can't afford to do that every week. So I'm too poor. And how do you know that you have to go ahead and if you, let's say you put your bread in and someone says, okay, I want the bread, because basically the concept is when you put all the bread in the basket, it's everyone's bread. And now it's everyone's property. It's not each person's individual property. It's everybody's property. So you have to go ahead and basically give everyone else permission to go ahead and eat that which you place in there. If somebody from the Mavui, right, who went ahead and he wants some of the wine or the oil that was given as part of the Eruv, and they don't give it to him, batal hashituf, right? Batal hashituf. Then the shituf is batal. It's mavatal. Because it doesn't work. You see that, even though I put my bread in the basket, right, I faked it, because now that you want my bread or my wine or my oil, whatever I put there, and you want it, I say no, it shows that I never really joined as part of the shituf. So it would be mavat l'shituf. So I have I can't go ahead and give it up. So now he says, I have niklu mar, or v'yasa dechala b'chavisa. I have an idea. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and still make this erev or shituf? And instead of giving bread, because you said you can't afford bread, why don't you go ahead and get some vinegar in a barrel and give that for the entire year, right? That seems pretty affordable, right? And so he says, and Tanya, no, he says, no, you can't go ahead and use something which is stored, right? Something which is stored in volume, right? A large amount, such as, let's say, vinegar in a barrel, which can be basically used as the entire year. It's like almost like a storehouse, right? Or the vinegar, it's not like a loaf of bread, which is eaten at once. It's, it's used throughout the year. You can't use that as your shituf, as basically, the combining of the different chatzeros. Of the mavi. So it's not mishatim eitzer. We have a brayse that says you can't be mishatim. So actually machlokas beisham beishilo, which actually comes back to the concept of bereira, right? As we'll soon see. The Tanan, and I'll explain what bereira is in a minute. We go to Mishnah. Actually, we saw this before. I think it's brought down here. And Beitza Daf of a Daf. Oh no, we've seen it similar. So it says the time we go to the Mishnah, Hames the bias, so if somebody's dying in a house or about to die, and obviously, so all the entire area is going to become an ohel, right? So therefore, you have to go ahead and remove the mace. So the question is, through which doorway are they taking out? And whichever doorway is going to be taken out, anything that's underneath, right, the lintel and that area will be an ohel for the mace. So basically, if there's only one doorway, so we know where the mace is going to go out, that's going to go ahead and become tummy. So a mace bebayis, v'loy psachim harbe, and it has many openings. Kulan tmeya, right? All of them are going to be tummy because each one of them, when the person dies, can be used, right, to go ahead and take the body out. However, if one of them is open and that's going to be the one that's used, so then who tame the kulan tayr, and then that's going to be the tummy one because that's going to be the logical exit or the logical route of taking out the corpse. The kulan tayr and the rest of them are going to be tahor. If he has in mind, okay, I'm going to take it out of one of them. Or if there's a window that's just 4 before tefachim, matzil al kol psachim kulan, saves the other psachim. So even though they're all closed, but he figures in his mind, I'm going to go ahead and use, door B. That's going to be what's used. And Beis Shammai oimrim v'hu shechishev ad shelo yamus hames. He can only think about that only prior to the person dying. But once the person dies, right, and then he says, I'm going to use that door, it doesn't save the other doors. Even when the person dies. Even after the person dies, and then he decides, I'm going to take it out of door B, not door A, C, or D. A, C, or D becomes tar. Why? Because we say brera, right? We say this concept of brera, that you go back retroactively and say that when he died, B was going to be the route that he was taking. So therefore, only route B is tamei, everything else is tahor. But Beis Shammai says, no, we don't go back in history and say at the time of death that he was destined to go ahead and to take route B. We didn't know at the time. So therefore, we don't go back retroactively. So therefore, same thing is over there by shituf. If a person gives up, let's say, a large vat of vinegar, right? And you take out a little vinegar. So the whole issue is with you can't use it is because you can't use a large volume because we don't know what was going to be used as the shituf. In other words, you can go ahead and what wasn't. So if something was going to be used as the shituf and it was taken out, right, and someone wanted to use it, so you say, that wasn't the shituf, it was the other barrel of vinegar, is the stuff that remainder is going to be the shituf. So that's using the concept of brera, because when I put it all in, it has 100% of the contents. But throughout the year, as I use my vinegar, so the shituf is only going to be the leftover stuff, the stuff that I never took out, right, for everybody's use, right? So therefore, that's using the concept of brera. So Beis Hillel holds of the concept of brera, right, which is a more of a lenient position. And Beis Shammai, right, who's normally more machmir than Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai is the one who says, no, we don't apply brera in the case of the mace. And so too, in the case of the shituf, we don't go backwards in time and say brera. Rather, if you use the, once you said something as oitzer, that's what it is. And if you take something out, then that was, you're taking out the erev, and that's the reason why you can't use something like an oitzer, something which is stored, for long periods of time, as your shituf. Fine. New case, brand new thing. Hahu yanuka the ishtapech chamima. We actually saw this concept yesterday. So once again, this is actually we're going to see 3 mice like this. Once again, there was a child whose bris milah was supposed to be on Shabbos, and they needed hot water for the baby. So and it spilled out. So Amalu Rava Nishalali Imi. So he says, so they spilled out. They need to know, okay, we need hot water. What should we do? So he said, let's go ahead and ask the mother if she needs. And then if the mother needs, right, if the mother, she just gave birth, it would be sakana for her. So let's go ahead and, so you can go ahead and get hot water on behalf of the mother. Go ahead and get hot water for the mother, and therefore use some leftover hot water for the baby. So the mother, she feels fine. She's eating dates right now as we speak. Look, she's over there. Maybe she's so crazy that she doesn't even realize that she's in dire straits and she's in sakana, that she's eating dates. So therefore, that's not a proof. And if we say the mother needs hot water, then the mother needs hot water. And how you could another maisa where there was also a child that the hot water spilled out, and they needed more hot water. So now they need to go ahead and get water from an adjacent, from a chatzir, which is next door, right? There's a chatzir next door, and Rava was, I guess, part of the chatzir where the baby was. and they want to go ahead and take from the other chatzir. So he said, Amar le Rava, Panuli mani mi be gavi lebe nashi v'azav yisav hasam. So move all my stuff, right, from the outer part of my house into the inner part, right? The stuff from the men's quarters, right, to the women's quarter, which is inside. So move my stuff to the women's area, all right, in my house, and I'll stay there for Shabbos. And then I'll be mavatal my chatzir. So I'm mavatal my portion of the chatzir. Now so without me, I was the problem stopping you. So I'll be mavatal for my area of reshus, and therefore you can go ahead and be able to carry the hot water from the other chatzir. So the guy says, "What do you mean?" Your bittul can't work for another chatzir, right? I can't be mevatel my reshus so they can go ahead and get from another chatzir because that's ein mevatel me chatzir the chatzir. So how is that going to work, right? So the Gemara answers, Amarle, oh no, Rabbi Yochanan Svirle, Damar Yesh Bittul Mechatzer L'Chatzer. So he holds like the arguing opinion which we saw yesterday of the Rabbi Yochanan who argued with Shmuel and says, no, you can't be mevatel from one chatzir to another chatzir, and therefore it's not an issue for me to mevatel it. So V'ilo Sarla Mar Shmuel, right? I understand, but even if he doesn't hold like Shmuel, right? Nisin Mar B'duchte V'nivatle L'didu, right? V'niadrin Inhu V'nivatle L'mar. I understand. So go ahead and be, even if let's say you held like Shmuel, right? Stay where you are, be mevatel your stuff, and then afterwards, right, go back and then use it again. Why do you have to move all your stuff to the woman's side, right? You move all, or the inner quarters, right? You move all your stuff to the inside quarters. Why? Because you didn't want to be chayshish, so you might carry stuff to the outside. So you're going to stay on the inner side the whole time of your house and never leave, the house. So I understand. Stay in your house, be mevatel, right? Let them go ahead and carry the water, and then go ahead and reclaim it, right? What's the big deal, right? Why do you have to go ahead and stay in the inside, right, in the inside room in your house throughout Shabbos and not carry outside the entire Shabbos? Just be mevatel and come back and do it. Tamar Rav, mevatel v'chayzer mevatel, because Rav holds you're allowed to be mevatel, right? You give up my rights, and you guys use it, and I said, you know what? 2 hours later, I want my rights back, and you can do that according to Rav. So says, no, when it comes to this, I hold like Shmuel. Shmuel holds that once you're mevatel, it's a real batala, and therefore you can't go ahead and reclaim it on the same Shabbos. So Gemara says, I v'lav chad tamu, but isn't it for the same reasoning? I understand. Isn't it one connected to the other, right? My time mevatel b'chayzim mevatel, and what's the reason? In other words, isn't it the same thing? Why we can't do mevatel the chatzir and also mevatel v'chayzim mevatel? Isn't that really the same line of reasoning? What do you mean? My time mevatel v'chayzim mevatel. What's the reason why you can't be mevatel and then go back and reclaim it, right? Why? Once you're mevatel, you're a shus. It's like you're not part of the chatzir anymore. If you're not part of the chatzir, right? It's like you're part of another chatzir, right? And therefore you can't do reshus chatzir. Now, once you establish this ain't bittul chatzir, once I'm mevatel my reshus, I can't go back and reclaim it. Why? Because I'm part of another chatzir, and then you can't claim it back, right? Once I'm kicked out, right, or once I give up my rights, I can no longer rejoin because it's like I'm part of another chatzir. So Marnami, so he says, so Marnami loy nevatel. If that's the case, right? So you should also, right, be able to be mevatel, right? So you can't, you shouldn't be able to go ahead and be mevatel, right? So you can't have your rights back, and that's the reason why. So Gemara answers now, really, you can't do it. It's not really connected. It's not the two hand in hand. So why can't you be mevatel? No, it's not like you're part of another chatzir, right? The reason is because if you're mevatel and then you're chayzer, right, then it shows that the first batala is like a joke. So therefore, since we don't want people to treat these takanas with a joke, therefore we say you ain't chayzer mevatlan v'chayzer. That's the reason according to Rava. Fine. Gufa. Now let's go ahead and analyze this. So Rav Omar mevatlan v'chayzer mevatlan. Rav says you can go ahead and be mevatlan v'chayzer mevatlan. And Shmuel Omar ein mevatlan v'chayzer mevatlan. Shmuel says you cannot be mevatel and chayzer or mevatel. You can't go back, right? So Lema Rav Shmuel, but Kluksa the Rabban Rabbi Eliezer. Let's say that they argue, right, in a machlekas, which is in a Mishnah, I believe, on. It's going to be a Mishnah. We're going to see, I think, on I think it's Samach Tes. I saw it was quoted. So it's a machlokes we have a little later on in the Gemara. When it comes to a person is mevatel, right, his chatzir, right? So does he also give up the rights to his house, right? Does it go together? Does it not, right? So let's say this is the same machlokes. The Rab Amak the Rabbanan. The Rab hold like the Rabbanan, and therefore, since is in Rav who held that mevatin b'chayz mevatin is because he doesn't really, when he gives up his chatzir, he doesn't give up his house. So therefore, since he didn't give up his house, he's still really connected to the chatzir. Ushmol Dami Rabbi Eliezer. Shmuel holds like Rabbi Eliezer that no, once you give up your chatzir, no one wants a house without a chatzir. Therefore, you give up the rights to your chatzir, you give up the rights to your house. Therefore, the house is really not connected to the chatzir, and therefore, right, you would not be able to be vatal b'chayz mevatin. So Rav, no, Ana Damar Dafiluk Rabbi Eliezer. I can hold even like Rabbi Eliezer. Ad Kaluk Rabbi Eliezer Hasa Mavat Rishus Mechatzer Rishus Baisel Bito. We should devise B'Chatzer Lo Dari Inchi. Only the reason why Rabbi Eliezer says that you can't be Mavat once you give up your house, your Chatzer, right? You're also Mavat your house is because right, no one wants to live in a house without a Chatzer. So therefore, it's like he's giving up his house, right? But Aval the Inyan is to look at me Amar, right? But when he says, right, that, did he say that you can't go ahead, right, and his mavatas are shus that he can't go ahead and get it back? Maybe even Rabbi Ezra says, yes, he can mavatal it, everything completely, but maybe he can still go back and reclaim it. So in other words, it's one is not dependent on the other. And therefore, maybe even Rabbi Ezra would agree that even though when he's mavatal his chutz, he's also mavatal his house, he can be chayzer and then reclaim it. And Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, no, Anna, the Amri, I feel the Rabbanan. I can even hold like the Rabbanan. Ad kan loy kamei Rabbanan hasam ela my devatul batul deloy batul batul. Maybe the Rabbanan hold that which is mavatul only that, nothing else. So if I'm mavatul my chatzar, but not my house, right? However, when it comes to being bittul the chayzer mavatul, if I'm my devatul, we still look at the gamri. But maybe it means that once you go ahead and mavatul something, you're mavatul that for good. You can't go back and reclaim it the same Shabbos. So therefore, maybe he says that which I relinquish my rights to, I'm mavatul. It's a true batala, but it's only on that and nothing else. And therefore, we can't say that this machlokes Rav and Shmuel is the same machlokes as the Rabbanan and Rabbi Eliezer. According at this point in time, actually at the end of this Gemara, we're going to see that is the machlokes. So now maybe another suggestion. Okay, so let's say this: Amar Rav Acha Bar Chana Rav Sheshes Kitanai. Let's say this is a machlokes tonight, but they're machlokes tonight. Mishin asan reshus. So if a person goes ahead and he gave up he was mavatal, right? He's mavatal his rights, right? And v'hoitzio bein b'shogeg bein b'mezid, right? And then he goes back and then he uses it, right? He goes back and he goes into the chatzir, whether he did it b'shogeg, right, or b'mezid, right? Whether he did it accidentally or purposely, oiser. He answers the other. In other words, originally the guy didn't join in the Eruv, and then okay, I'm about to my rishus, and then he went in and he carried. So what do you see? He carried, and then so it says according to Divrei Meir, he answers the people because we see he's back in and he's not part of the Eruv. Therefore, no, go ahead and carry. Rabbi Huda Omer b'mezid oiser. If he does b'mezid oiser, because we see that he never really went ahead and it was mavatl, but b'shogeg did accidentally ain't oiser, doesn't he ask the others? So my lab hub conflict the Marsa Mavatin B'Chayzer Mavatin, Marsa Vein Mavatin B'Chayzer Mavatin. One holds you can be Mavatin B'Chayzer Mavatin. In other words, if you hold like Rameir, who says that even B'Shogeg he asks the other, why? Because he carries back in it, he reclaims it because you're allowed to go ahead and be Mavatin and come back and reclaim it. And the second opinion of Rabbi Huda, right, Umar Savar a Mavatin B'Chayzer Mavatin, he says that no, you cannot be Mavatin B'Chayzer Mavatin. Therefore, when he goes ahead and he B'Shogeg he carries in there. Right, we'll say that it was, no harm, no foul. He doesn't ask for the others from doing it. It was a mistake. And Omar Rav Acha Bar Tachlif Meshvei Rav Lo. No, maybe that's not the machlokes there. Maybe we can say the Kuli Alma Eim Avatlim Chayzim Avatlim. Maybe over there we can say both. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Huda both hold that once you're mavatal, you can't go back and be mavatal, right? Just like Shmuel. V'hacha B'Kansu Shogeg Atu B'Mezik Kamiflagi. And over here they're arguing whether we penalize a person who carries b'shogeg like b'mezid, just like b'mezid, we say, hey, the fact he went ahead and carried, right? Really, it shows that he never was mavatal, he never relinquished his rights, and therefore will punish the shogeg also. And then one holds not only that, ma'aser v'kansu shogeg to mezid. One holds, Rameir holds that we punish the shogeg just like mezid, and therefore also, even if he carries out b'shogeg, we'll say no one else is allowed to go ahead and carry. And Mar Saver, and then Rabbi Huda will hold like kansu shogeg to mezid. We don't penalize the shogeg because of the mezid, and therefore because of a shogeg, we won't say he ruins now the others from carrying. And Ravash Yomar, no, Rav Shmuel pluksa the Rabbi Eliezer Rabbana Kamithli. It turns out that Rav and Shmuel is really the machlokes we suggested earlier, is the machlokes of one is Mevatel his Chatzir, is he also Mevatel his house or not? Fine. Now we come to the next part of the Mishnah we discussed a while ago. So the Mishnah said earlier, we were talking about a guy, whether he answers it, and in terms of he has to go ahead and lease it out. What about a tzeduki? So Amar Gamliel, Ma'isa b'tzeduki echad shaya darimana. There was one time a tzeduki with us, and it was mavatal, right? Obviously, batala does not work when it comes to goyim, right? Batala only works when it comes to a Jew, but when it comes to goyim, they have to go ahead and lease out their thing. But we see over here that it was mavatal. So the Gemara answers. So first we're asked Tzeduki, man the Charshmei. Who's talking about Tzeduki, right? If you look in the Mishnah, it mentions them talking about Goyim, and then talking about the Tzeduki. Who's talking about Tzeduki there? So the Gemara answers, Chasuri Machsra. No, it's missing a bar of Hachitan. This is what it means to say. Tzeduki harehu kenachri. A Tzeduki is just like a nachri. From Gamliel Leimer, Tzeduki ain't no kenachri. And Rabbi Gamliel argues, he says, no, a Tzeduki is not like a nachri. From Rabbi Gamliel, Maisa, and Rabbi Gamliel says, I can even prove it to you. Maisa b'tzeduki echad shaya darimana b'mo Yishalayim. One time, there was a tzeduki who lives in the same courtyard as us. V'amar lanu abba, and our father told us, Mahayru v'hoitziu es hakelim l'mavui. Go ahead and quickly take out the kelim into the mavui. Ad shlo yaitziv yasar lecha. Right before the tzeduki starts to carry. In other words, we can go ahead and basically start without him, and we'll use the eruv, right? Until he starts carrying out there. Once he carries out there, then it shows he's not part of the Erev, and therefore he asks it. But you see that he's different than a Nachri, right? He's different than a Nachri because, maybe it could be that he's Mavatal up until the point he starts to use it. Once he used it, it shows he was not Mavatal. One lives with a Nachri and Tzeduki and Baitusi, they would answer him. So skip the parentheses. So we see over there that one who does live with a Nachi Tzeduki Betusi, they also answer that they also hold that they're just like a according to this, we see that the Tzeduki is just like a Nachri, that he answers same as a Nachri. So this is the Rabbanan who argue with Rabbi Gamliel. And then skip the parentheses. But there was a Maisa of a Tzeduki who lived with Rabbi Gamliel in Mavu Yishalayim. Rabbi Gamliel Abanav Beni Mahera Vayitzi Mashet Hamaitz. And go ahead and take out what you need, right? The Echnisa Mashet Hamachnis and bring in what you need. Until this person, right? This Toev, right? Is like almost like Toeva, right? Until this Toev Hazav Yasar Lechem, until he asks for you because the fact that he didn't join in the Eruv and he wasn't Mevatel his Rishus. Arei Bito Rishus Lechem, right? Because we Mevatel up until this point he's Mevatel Rishus, but once he doesn't, he can't. So we see it clearly according to Rabbi Gamliel that a Tzeduki is treated, despite the fact that he's a Toev, as he called him, he's treated like a Jew, right? When it comes to an Eruv with a Chatzir. However, when it comes to the Rabbanan, right, Tzeduki is like a Nachri, that there is no Batala, and that was the Ma'aser according to Meir and Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, but Lashon Acheres, he is a little different Lashon. Why? He held Ad Shlo Techshach V'Yasar Lechem, until before it gets dark. In other words, he holds that go ahead and carry on, take your stuff out before it's dark. But once it gets dark, then you can't even start using it on Shabbos. So we have to see this machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. One seems to say that you can start even using on Shabbos up until the point where the Tzeduki starts to use it. The other seems to say that no, you can't use it all on Shabbos. So therefore, prepare everything before Shabbos. Because once Shabbos starts, therefore it's considered no good. And we'll have to see this machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. So we will stop here. Everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos. And we'll see everybody Sunday, Mirz Hashem. Double block.
7 a.m., right?
7 a.m.
Thank you, everyone.
Mazel tov, Yoel.
All right, good Shabbos.
Have a wonderful Shabbos. We'll see you guys. Be well.
Good Shabbos.
All right, bye-bye.